Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Ruth Knight and I'm the International Sales and Marketing Director at Northplains. I have the pleasure of talking to you today about marketing resource management and how it can really be utilised to transform your marketing operations into a profit centre. We all know the pressures that marketing are under to prove their profitability. And there are some tremendous gains that can be made, and hopefully I'm going to talk you through those, okay? Now, I am going to give a quick introduction to Northplains. I'm going to keep it brief and I'm going to do it at the beginning. So you won't have to bear with me for long, but hopefully you'll find it of interest too. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the changing landscape of marketing. I guess a lot of you sitting in this audience are marketeers. I mean, I have the pleasure of dealing with sales and marketing, and now on an international scale. So I feel these pressures that hopefully I'm going to talk about today, and I'm sure a lot of you in this audience do as well. Then we're going to talk about MRM. I don't know if that's a new term to a lot of you, but I'm going to give a quick definition. And then I'm going to talk about the 4P's of MRM. Again, marketeers will be well accustomed to the P's of marketing. Well, MRM has 4 of its own, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about those and how they can be used as sort of guidelines to help you create a more profitable marketing operation. And then finally, I'm going to be talking about real-life examples. So I'm going to try and bring in as many case studies as I can. I'm going to be picking examples from all over our client portfolio. So it may appear a bit sort of boom, 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 but if you've got any questions, just talk to me at the end. And there'll be another couple of people joining me as well. So that's pretty much the agenda for today. And without any further ado, I'll kick off. So what do we do? I don't know how many of you have heard of Northplains. Northplains was predominantly a North American company. They recently acquired my company and some other directors' company, a company called VYRE in the UK. So now we're very much a global company. And I'm going to explain what this means, creative marketing lifecycle solutions, because that's one of those terms where you go, and what does that mean? But I'll explain that in a minute. But what you're probably familiar with is digital asset management. So that's managing all your digital assets for your enterprise. And we're obviously here to talk about marketing resource management. So if you don't know what it means yet, I promise you, you will by the end of the presentation. And we're classed as visionaries in the world of MRM. Gartner is our sort of god as a research company. And we're classed as visionaries by them. So a lot of the examples that I'm going to show you are from those 2 different worlds. Now, well, what does that mean? What does it really mean for our customers? Well, we're all about solving problems and protecting your brand integrity and helping you to connect and engage with users through visual media. I mean, if you're brand owners, you will know all the stats about how people engage with a brand a lot more if you've got images involved. I think there's a recent stat from ROI research that talks about brand engagement is 44% higher if you actually have images within your communications. So that's predominantly what we're helping people to do, to use their imagery effectively and to also protect their brand. And of course, it's about increasing efficiency and agility as well. So this is just a little bit about our systems. We basically have 4 best-of-breed solutions, and these solutions can take you from the very early concept of your design brief through to fulfillment. Woo! How did it do that? Back again. That was exciting, wasn't it? I think that was my tab. And again, if you're interested in the specific solutions, talk to me at the end. But Zynet is a work-in-progress system, so that's used by, I think it's 90-something% of all agencies use Zynet for work-in-progress. OnBrand is a brand asset management system and an MRM system, and Telescope is your heavy-lifting digital asset management system. So if you want something that manages every asset within an organisation, that is the solution you would go for. So that is our creative marketing lifecycle. Who do we work with? Well, it's lots of people. There's about 1,400 clients that we have in total. And you'll see a lot of these brands are well-known brands. I mean, ones that I personally deal with, I've been working in this industry for 15 years. And ones that I've personally worked with, it's doing it again. Ones that I've personally worked with are people like the BBC, Diageo, Shell, Low & Partners Worldwide, and a lot of these I'll actually be bringing into the presentation as examples of what I'm actually talking about today. So lots of lovely clients that we're very proud to work with. And as I've said, we're global. So at the moment we've got offices in London, Toronto, Munich and Berkeley, and there's some very exciting plans to expand. So we should have another couple of offices by the end of the year. It really is moving on its own, isn't it? Okay. So that's the introduction about who we are. And now let's get to the main body of the presentation. So the changing landscape of marketing. Just a quick show of hands. Who's in marketing departments now? So the majority of you. Okay. So I'm speaking to an educated audience, which is good. You're probably familiar with all of these. These are my sort of bullet points for talking about change, basically. As I said, I've been in marketing in this world for about 15 years, and going back to sort of the early 90s, we did all operate on a more local basis. Now it's global, but there's also that individual twist to it as well, just to make our lives that little bit more complicated. We have to be able to relate to the regions. If you look at a lot of our clients now, like Diageo, they have global campaigns, but then the majority are actually local as well. So you have both of those challenges. You've got global consistency, but relating to customers and consumers on a local level. So that creates quite an operational challenge for people. You know, things used to be a lot more planned and controlled, a longer time to market. And again, if you're in a marketing department now, you know the speed that we are all having to react. It's really rapid the way we have to turn things around these days. And it is a lot more dynamic, and it is a lot more collaborative. Further complicated by the fact that there were less channels, and now there's multiple channels. You know, we all know about mobile, about social, and how that's, added to the workload and the complexity of how we communicate with our audience. You know the old-fashioned push to pull. I probably don't need to explain that. And there used to be a monologue on the brand. People used to be captivated by values and benefits. They almost used to accept what you said to them. But now the dialogue is totally different. People will not accept what you say. They'll listen to the brand experience and the brand messages, and then the first thing they'll go and do is check it out. Check what everybody else is saying about your brand. It's not just what I'm saying anymore. So the complexity and the referenceability is way higher. So, this is no longer just a creative challenge. This is also an operational challenge. And this is felt at every level. I was at a CMO conference in Miami, and yes, it was lovely to see the sun because it was only a couple of weeks ago. And it was really interesting because operations was the thing that was just on CMOs' minds. If you went back 10, 15 years ago, CMOs didn't want to be worried with operations, or certainly not to the degree that they are now. But now this is one of their key and central concerns. And there's a great survey or questionnaire by McKinsey & Company, predictions for 2013. And go and have a read about it, or read it. And it says, operations became a key word in marketers' vocabulary. Every CEO that they talked to was making a strong reference to significant change that they have to make in their operations. Many felt that they were at the snapping point of structures, processes, and technology. And there was a real need to standardise on shared set of technical tools. There's another really scary statistic that I didn't put in, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway. But it was the fact that, and it was by Harvard. If you're interested, I can dig out the details of it. But it was the fact that 70% of these types of transformational, operational projects actually fail to meet their original expectations. Now that's quite a scary figure. So it's a problem that also has a lot of fear around it and a lot of perceived risk. And this is burning down on sort of every level, including the CMOs. It's further complicated. I don't know, how many of you have heard of Omni-Channel? How many are you aware of this Omni-Channel Factor? Okay, so a few of you. It was new to me, actually. We've all heard of multi-channel, okay? We know what multi-channel is. Oops, and it's jumping again. But multi-channel, omni-channel is the use of all channels simultaneously. And this is what many retailers are driving to now. And as you can imagine, this adds to the complexity of operational execution again. This is a great example, and I'm being told I can't move, so I'm going to do a strange sort of twist thing over here. I'll move over like this. This isn't omni-channel, actually. This is actually multi-channel. But this shows you, if you have got 7 different media channels, okay, and you've got 4 different personas and 4 different messages at the buying stage and 2 different languages in 4 regions, you have actually got to create 896 variations of your communication. Now that is an increasing demand, okay? And that's not even omni-channel. That's just a few multi-channels. So that's just a demonstration of the complexity and the demands that a lot of big brands are being placed under. And you know, even Northplains, we're not on a major brand level, but most of our communications are being repurposed across these and in multiple languages too. And even for companies the size of Northplains, that creates a major headache. It really does. You've had a sneak preview of this one. But I think we've gone way beyond push and pull. You know, this digital world really means we have to power through our strategies. You need a power strategy to deal with this type of omni-channel marketing. This is way beyond putting it out there and hoping people find it. I mean, this has to be powered. This has to be organised and statistically analysed and powered through an organisation. And this also means that the marketing mindset has to change. You know, it has to change to be successful. It used to be art and science. You know, thankfully, art is still in there. There is hope for all of us creatives still. But, you know, it is science that leads a lot of these executions and campaigns now. And it is the analytics and the ROI and the effectiveness that is being continually analysed and fed back into the process. So it is as much science now as it is an art. So hopefully that goes a little way to explain some of the complexities and the changing landscapes. And I'm just going to get a bit of water. But what I'm going to go on to next is MRM and how we can help you manage those challenges. So how many of you know what MRM means? Who's come across it before? Not many. Okay. I'm going to tell you. It's a word that was first coined by Gartner, actually, but probably about 10 years ago. And it's been growing in reputation and relevance ever since then, to be honest. It's the alignment of people, processes and technology to support marketing activities and improve marketing effectiveness. So that's the definition. If you want the official definition, that's what it is. I find it easier to break it down into its 5 stages because then that really tells you what MRM delivers to an organisation. So it's solutions around planning and budgeting for marketing activities and programmes. It's helping you create and develop marketing programs and content. It's about the collection and management of content and knowledge. And then fulfillment and distribution and marketing at its content and collateral. And then finally, that science piece. It's all about the measurement, the analysis, and the optimization. So that's the breakdown of marketing resource management. Now, as I said, we all know what the 4P's are: price, product, promotion, placement. There's another couple that we could chuck in there: physical evidence and all the rest of them that we all know and sort of love. But as I said, MRM has 4 of its own. And it's people, processes, performance, and profit. And the whole concept around marketing resource management is if you're aligning people and automating processes and measuring and optimizing performance, you're going to increase the profitability of marketing. So that is really what we're here to talk about. So now I'm going to show you some sort of in-action examples of how we help people improve the profitability of their operations. So the people element comes from the fact that, again, the number of people that are involved in the marketing process has just exponentially, you know the word I'm looking for, it's increased greatly. And, these are just a few of the groups that we now have to liaise with on, and consult in our marketing operations. So this is a large group of people now. And many of these are improved in execution or fulfillment or even approvals. So how can MRM help? Well, what MRM really does, it helps align people and knowledge across the marketing ecosystem. So if I just give you a couple of examples of that, it helps you create brand centers that combine brand guidelines and assets. So that's that knowledge element. It helps you create brand communities. A lot of the big brands that we're working with now are really advocates of creating communities around their brands and sharing best practice to encourage great creative work. And it's also about that virtual collaboration. So removing processes from an offline environment and really enabling people to collaborate within the virtual world. And of course, then you have all the benefits that there's greater transparency there as well. So I'm going to show you a few examples now and talk a little bit about the stories behind it. So Distell, I don't know if you're familiar with Distell. If you're in Africa, you probably would be, but they're the major drinks manufacturer for Africa. Now, they came to us with the problem that they have to manage over 60 brands, all their brand guidelines, all of their brand assets, and all of their creative workflow as well. And they wanted to do that within a single portal interface. But they also wanted to empower their marketing users to do it. They had a situation which is very similar for a lot of clients. They'd basically gone individually to lots of agencies. So the favourite Amarula brand had gone to their favourite agency and they'd created a brand portal and, pick another brand. Savannah had done the same and all the rest of them had done the same. So they were just finding they had all these silos of content everywhere. Brand guidelines were sort of scattered in different versions everywhere. And creative workflow, again, was predominantly done through email and old-fashioned ways of approval or offline ways of approval. So what we've done for them is basically bring it all into a single portal, which is our on-brand system. But the great thing about this is it's really empowering the marketeers. So it's sharing knowledge, it's aligning people, it's aligning all their partners and their distributors. But they went live in May, 2 years ago, and basically within 4 months they had 60 of these brand portals up. And all of their brand managers own them, okay? So it's not a huge burden on everyone else. So that really is aligning people across lots of different brands. A similar example, I mean, Diageo's, if anybody's here tomorrow, Diageo are doing a talk, which is a fantastic talk, actually. And I won't have huge time to go into this now. But again, Diageo take a similar approach, but it's on a lot grander scale, as one would expect. And we do branded portals for them. We design system for marketeers, and marketeers have to engage and be inspired by these systems. So we very much concentrate on creating interfaces that will do that. So you'll see that these are all branded. So again, that's aligning knowledge and branding information and creative workflow all over in one system. Nokia is really interesting, actually, because they're a good example of people that are trying to take brand communities. So this is their brand asset management system, but they have an external blog all about branding, which leads the whole of the system. So their whole idea is to drive people to this blog to try and create a site that is really sticky and that the marketeers will keep coming back to engage with the brand. So that's an example of a slightly different approach. And as I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and sometimes, one size doesn't quite fit all, and you have to understand the culture of an organisation to bring a system in that is going to be highly adopted. And this works for Nokia. It might not work for everybody else because there might be a competing blog on their intranet. But for these guys, this works really well. So about creating a brand community and aligning people around this brand community, this works really well. The last one I'm going to show you is the US Army. And it's been really interesting working on branding for the US Army, as you can imagine. And they do a lot around promoting best practice. And they have awards around